Hello, and welcome back to my library and my chiming clock. Not too many chimes this time. I want to spend a few minutes today just reviewing uh, some information about the class. I want to tell you a little bit more about the assignments and so on. Anyway, I'll just get started. All right, so COM 101, here we are. You already know who I am, Raymond Shabinsky. You know, when we're in class, people always have this kind of, what do you call the old guy up in front? Mr. Doctor, Herr Professor, anyway, I always just go by Ray, even in class. So when you're emailing me, feel free to be casual. I did work for a short while on one of these kind of exchange things. Here, we'll swap professors, sort of things. And I taught a little bit in a city called Brescia, Italy. If anybody's been to Italy, it's about halfway between Milan and Venice along the railroad there. And it's very near the southern part of the Italian Alps. Beautiful place. The students are much more formal in Europe than we are here. And they called me Il Professore. Sounds great. Anyway, so yeah, Ray here, and that will be just fine. So, um, I think everyone has received. I haven't had any more questions about the SYN-Gauge. And I've been putting on my announcement SYN-Gauge / MindTap. Once you get into it, it kind of depends on what you're looking at. They call it MindTap. But again, you need to register for the class by going to the link provided on our homepage on Canvas. It's $52.99, which is actually less than the cost of the hardbound textbook if you went to the bookstore to buy it new. I know it's a burden at this time. We're all watching our pennies, uh, kind of stuck with the situation. The midterm and the final, again, I've said this in my communications with you, you need to register to take the midterm and final. You might be wondering, well, are you giving any quizzes? And I hate to keep hedging my answer, but I'm not sure yet. It kind of depends on how things go. But if I do, it will only be 2 quizzes at most. And I will build them in MindTap, and then you would take them through MindTap online. So that's another reason you need to have that registration. So please, if you haven't done it yet, try to get in there and register. Now, it doesn't become totally critical about registration until we get near the midterm, because if you haven't registered by the midterm, you can't get in there to take the midterm. Well, I'm hedging again here. I'm going to start giving you reading assignments in the book, which is right there in the SYN-Gauge app. If for some reason it takes you a while to come up with the money or whatever it might be to register, you can still play catch up and do the readings when you get it. Obviously, it'd be better if you do it as soon as possible if you haven't done it already. Whatever you do not buy a hardbound copy or try to buy the ebook on Amazon or something, because even though you would have the information, you would not have the ability to get in and take the test. Enough said about that. All right, what else? I'm looking at my notes over here. There's and you can, by the way, you can find all the information that I'm talking about today on the syllabus, um, which you go over to the left hand side of the page on our Canvas homepage and just scroll down and you'll find syllabus. Click that and away you go. All right, but I'm just going to hit the high points, things that are really interesting here. All right, expectations and outcome of this class? Well, there's a bunch of them listed on the official syllabus. And I get an official syllabus and then my own needs. They are examining theoretical perspectives of oral communications. I think that just means learning how to think about design an effective speech, topic and purpose. Okay. Yeah, in other words, how do you go about doing this? Prepare an effective speech. To me, that's almost more important than designing it, is the preparation. And I'm going to talk a lot about that through the semester. What else? Apply the principles of effective delivery to communicate prepared speech. In other words, how do you get up and do it? Okay? And you'll see all this in the syllabus if you go back and look at it. Recognize the principles of effective listening. Now, there's something interesting. You thought, well, I signed up for a speech class. What does listening have to do with speech class? Well, as I will tell you continuously through this semester, most of the time you're in the audience. You're listening. And so, sure, I'm going to talk about effective listening as well as effective speechifying. I can do that. All right. Identify principles of effective presentation skills. In other words, if we were in the class, we might be using PowerPoint, Prezi, that sort of thing. Also, how you breathe, how you stand, all this, which I will talk about. What else do I have on this list? Help students understand that communication is dynamic, involving constant change and development. Oh, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. In fact, if anything, I think that's one of the most interesting parts of talking about good communication is just how dynamic and evolving it really is. Familiarize students with both the basic concepts and differences between informative, persuasive, and entertainment speeches. Now, we're not getting into entertainment much of anything. As you've already discovered, I like to tell jokes, and I'll tell a few more as we go along. I consider that a kind of uh, entertainment, public speaking, telling a joke, absolutely. But we will be talking a lot, and you will be presenting informative and persuasive speeches. Let's see, help students internalize the basic principles of delivery. Yes, and there's 4 of them: impromptu, extemporaneous, memorization, and manuscript. I'll talk about those in detail. I'll talk about a couple of these other here in just a moment. Don't panic. There is no memorization required for this course. Increase students' ability to become critical listeners. Kind of goes back up to that other one. And coming back to the more you know about giving a speech, then as a audience member, the more you understand what the speaker is doing. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, there's more of them here. Help students understand the use of visual aids. I'll talk about it, but there will be no PowerPoints or visual aids required for any of the speeches. Let's see. Introduce students to the basic skills of argumentation and critical thinking. Okay. Uh, um, that's way in the second half of the, at least the argumentation in the second half of the semester. Give insight as to how a speaker must adapt to various audience dynamics. Hoo-hoo! I'm trying to do that right now, but I'm just looking at an image of myself on a screen. Where's the audience? Well, again, I'll try to give some examples of that. I'm also going to give you links to speeches from other students that were given live in front of an audience, so you can get a better feel for what audience dynamics is all about. Let's see, importance of outlining and supporting materials. Oh yeah, support what you're saying. Just when you hear a speaker say, well, I think, so what? Where are you getting this from? Let's see, the next one, emphasize the importance of outlining and supporting materials in the speech making, process. In other words, getting your thoughts together. Let's see, and then finally, I think this is the last one, understand the relationship of ethical responsibilities when you're communicating. Ethics in public speaking? Oh my. And I wish I could digress into the dynamics of what's been happening this last month and just how powerful the spoken word can be, and ethics must be applied. I'll say no more. All right. Let me talk about the 4 assignments. Right, the first assignment is a poetry or story reading. Now, in most of these communication classes, there are 4 speeches: the self-introductory speech, a demonstration speech, the informative and persuasive. And I've already mentioned this. And I've done away with the demonstration speech. I think it's redundant, really. You will learn the skills of putting a speech together just fine without it. So I have substituted I think, a very simple and low stress first assignment. What you're going to do is you're going to pick a poem, story. It could be a children's story. It could be a small section, a short section from a favorite book of yours. But in other words, you're using someone else's words. You don't have to write anything. Remember, and I always get questions after I say this, no, you do not need to write anything for this first assignment. You don't have to create your own poetry or story. So uh, it's a very short little presentation. It's only 2 to 3 minutes required for this presentation. You don't need to memorize it. And I'm going to show you how to prepare what I call a script. And the script is what you follow as you're reading, basically. Now, for all 4 speeches, I always, and of course now I'm posting them, I always will do examples myself. So next week, I will be giving you examples. I will present, however you want to say it, examples of a dramatic reading. And I'm going to do a poem, I'm going to do something from a book, and, I'll see what else I find that I might use. So uh, don't despair. I'll try to lead by example. Right? And again, you do not need to memorize anything. This assignment is worth 60 points. Right? So once again, I hope this one is very low stress. It's a way to get into speaking. Normally, I would say in front of people, but recording the speech, uh, you know, and I'll come back to this a little later. When you record your speeches, or, and I'm working on the Zoom meeting idea here. I haven't quite figured everything out yet. Uh, I'm thinking that we might also have some sessions where those of you who wish could present your presentation, your speech, on a Zoom meeting with a few other students on the meeting so that you would have an audience. I haven't done that yet, so I'm still working on that. More about that very, very soon. All right. But at the very least, you may end up recording the speech and submitting it to me. Anyway, no memorization, dramatic reading, 2 to 3 minutes long, 60 points. Now, the second speech is the autobiographical or self-introductory speech. This speech will require you to create an outline. And once again, I'm going to give a self-introductory speech. I'm going to show you my outline, exactly how I put it together. And I will give you a template for the outline. So I'm trying to keep the stress level down on the creation and preparation so that you can concentrate on the presentation. So this speech is 3 to 5 minutes long. Most people, it's around 3 to 4 minutes long. And it's a very simple little speech where you tell us something that's important to you. This isn't a, hi, my name is Ray. I'm 160 years old. 15 brothers and sisters, 5 dogs, an alligator in the backyard. No, it's not like that. What we want to hear is something that maybe happened to you that you felt was important, some aspect of your life that is meaningful to you. But again, I will be going all the details on how to put this together. So 3 to 5 minutes. Let's see. This presentation is worth 80 points. Now, I failed to mention this with the first one. when you're giving your presentation, if we do it on a Zoom meeting or whether you record it, I will be using a rubric to keep track of if you're hitting the right points, the right speed, whatever it might be. We'll have copies of those rubrics to look at before you give the speech. You'll know exactly what's on that rubric. But I'll talk more about evaluation later. The third speech is the informative speech. It's longer, it's 6 to 8 minutes long, and it requires more effort because there's some research that goes into it. The outline is a bit more detailed than the one for the self-introductory speech, and it also requires references. Again, I will go over all of this. I will also present at least one example of an informative speech myself. I won't leave you out in the dark. 120 points. And then finally, the last presentation for the semester will be the persuasive speech. The informative speeches is that you're telling us about something. I'm going to talk about gold, by the way, in my informative speech. Why not? I like gold. And it's just information about gold in this particular case for my speech. The persuasive speech, you're actually going to try to convince your audience of something that's important to you or that you believe in. So this one's different from the informative speech, obviously. The parameters are very much the same. The outline also requires that you do some research and that you provide references in the speech. That one, now I'm looking, I think on the syllabus I say 140 points, and I believe I may have changed that a little bit last semester and forgot to update this part of the syllabus. It's not by much. When we get closer, we'll take a look at it. I have 140 points here. Something is in the back of my mind. It's telling me it might be 125 points now. Whatever. Somewhere right in there. So those are the 4 speeches. Presentations, even, as I like to call them. The reading, the speech, informative speech, and persuasive speech. Oh, now remember I mentioned the times for each of these speeches. 2 to 3 minutes for the self-introductory speech, or whatever I put on there. 7 to 9 minutes for the persuasive speech. Again, I may modify those times on doing this online rather than in class, but somewhere in there. But whatever the time frame is, we call that the target time. That's going to be really important. And that's part of learning to give a speech effectively is target time. I'm sure many of you have been to meetings where you thought the speaker was going to talk for 10 minutes or something, and they go on for half hour, 40 minutes, and you want to slide under the table and die. That's irresponsible speech making. Right? Target time counts too. Learning to get your thoughts encapsulated and clarified in a specific amount of time is part of the deal. So target time. And once again, I will talk about this quite a bit. There are no, other than the outlines which you'll send to me as a Word doc or a Google doc, there are no written assignments in this class, none. Also, just while I'm thinking about it, on the informative and persuasive speeches, on the outlines, you will have to give your references. But once again, this isn't an English class or a research class. The references will be provided in a very simple format, not MLA or anything like that. And I will give you examples. Let's see. I've already mentioned that there's a midterm and a final and maybe 2 quizzes. That goes. Attendance. Now, obviously, this is an online class, so I'm not taking attendance. And I'll mention this again in my announcement. I just checked recently, and only 12 people have watched my introductory PowerPoint so far. And there's 25 people in this class. So I'm not keeping attendance, but I can tell by the number of people who have watched the videos if I'm getting good attendance, if you want. So please, please don't wait until the last minute to watch these things. It won't do you any good at all. All right, so I'm not taking attendance. All right, let's see. On that syllabus, there are items that just don't relate to the online class, and I will apologize for not um, adjusting this, but that's all right. You'll get the point. So talk about uh, when you are giving your speech. Normally in class, we uh, everyone picks a number, and then I assign speech days, and we go through by number. And if you aren't ready when your number is called, you can lose as much as one full letter grade on the assignment. Well, this semester is quite different in that there'll be a period of time where, where you can prepare and record and and submit your speech to me. And there is a list of dates at the end of the syllabus on Canvas you can look at. So you actually have an advantage here, and there's a little bit more time. So, and then there's tardiness, excuses. Well, if you have problems getting an assignment done, let me know ahead of time. And believe me, I was an undergrad. I was a high school student. I was even in elementary school. But, when the horse could get me there, uh, I was a graduate student, postgraduate student. It just goes on and on and on. It's like it never stopped. And so excuses, not only have I heard them all, I probably tried them all myself. Just tell me what the problem is. If you're having work schedules, health issues, whatever it might be, don't hesitate to just send me an email and we'll figure things out. Oh, there's a lot about there. Canvas, you already know this. I communicate through Canvas. I mean, you don't even get to see these videos if you don't go to Canvas. I mentioned in one of my first emails, Canvas almost daily so that I know that you're getting the information that I'm sending you. All right. Grading policy. You can look at this. One thing I must say is that you have to do all 4 speeches. In some cases, I haven't been one of these professors, but in some cases, if you miss one of the speeches, you fail the whole class. Now, I'm not encouraging you and saying if you miss a speech. If you do, it will dramatically affect your final grade. If you miss 2, you might as well withdraw from the class. This class is all about the speeches, so make sure you give all the speeches. Let's see, I'm going to skip that. Oh, extra credit. Occasionally, I'll have someone ask, usually the week before the end of the semester, if there's something they can do to raise their grade, extra credit. No, this is a tough class to give extra credit in. What am I going to do? I'm not going to assign an extra speech or something. So the best thing is just keep up with the work, get the speeches done. Get the speeches done and prepare for the final and the midterm. You'll pass this class just fine. Speech content. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this, and I usually talk a lot about the First Amendment. That's been in the news a whole lot lately, hasn't it? I've never really had any problems with the content of speeches in these classes. But if you pick a topic, say, for your persuasive speech, and you're worried it's too controversial, too upsetting, you're just worried about it for some reason, just contact me and we can hash through it. All right. Research expectations. You can read about that. I'll just tell you right now, the uh, informative and persuasive speech both require 5 references. Where are you getting this information? And that needs to go onto your outline so I can see where you got the information. And you need to say at least 3 of those references in the speech itself. I will demonstrate as we go along. Cheating, plagiarism, don't do it. All right. I will talk more about plagiarism. Uh, remember which chapter it's in, but that is a problem. And sometimes we find ourselves plagiarizing uh, without realizing it. So it's not even a conscious effort to steal somebody else's work. On the syllabus that's posted, it says classroom behavior. Yeah, well, behave. You're not in the classroom. Children in the classroom. Cell phones in the classroom. Emergency procedures. It's all on the. Obviously, I'm looking through the syllabus right now. It's all on there. If you have any special educational needs, disabilities, again, contact me right away. The dynamics are so totally different now with doing this online. But if you need some specific assistance or help, let me know, but let me know in plenty of time. So if I can't provide it, then we can find just someone who can. Okay, there's a communications lab. It's not currently open. This is important. If you find yourself, getting, 4 or 5 weeks into the class and you realize that your schedule isn't going to work, you hate the way I teach, whatever it might be, uh, and you want out of the class, you must withdraw from the class. Do that by calling the registration department. I cannot do that for you. I always get emails saying, "Mr. Shabinsky, could you withdraw me from the class?" No, I have no authority to do that. So if you decide you need out of the class, call the registrar's office and do a formal withdrawal. If you don't, and you just stop, I'll say attending or doing the assignments, and this happened last semester. I had a few people that did the dramatic reading, and then they never did anything again. I would send out emails and not hear from them. Uh, so the only option I have at the end of the semester is I am required, it's not an option, I am required to give an F because that person never formally withdrew from the class. So don't do that. All right, grading policy, it's real easy. Again, this is on the syllabus. I don't grade on a curve or anything. 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 90 is a B, 70 to 80, or 80 to 70, whatever, and so on. You can look at that. And yes, if you have an 89.3 at the end of the semester, guess what I will give you? Not a B plus. I'll give you an A minus. All right, so I've worked around that. The grading policy is very, very straightforward. So what do I personally hope that you'll walk away from with this class? I personally hope that this class will do two things for you. One is helping you to organize your thoughts. How many times have you tried to explain something to a friend, a family member, a colleague at work, and you just can't quite get the sequence right, you can't quite get the words that you want, and so on. Honestly, I think a class like this will help you tremendously. In fact, don't, if you say I said this, I'll deny it. Wait a minute, I'm recording it. I can't deny it. The point is I don't think this class is as much about public speaking. I mean, a lot of you may, believe it or not, will find times in your life where you're going to have to get up and talk in front of people. But more than anything, the same process that we're going to go through in organizing a formal speech can be used in everyday communication. So I really, really hope that you walk away from this class with a better sense of how to organize your thoughts and get ready to talk to people. And then the second major idea that I want you to walk away with, or idea or ability, improvement in self-confidence. I'm sure many of you are sitting out there thinking, "Oh God, it's going to chime again." The thought of getting up in front of people just terrifies me. Well, again, because we're online, it's not quite the full experience that you're getting here in that sense. But at the same time, I'm going to talk about techniques and ideas and ways to help you with that confidence. So with that, I hope that you have a better idea of where we're going with this class. Keep an eye on Canvas. I will post this. I'm going to post another lecture. And before the week is out, I will also post your first reading assignment. So thank you very much. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the tube later on.